Hello and welcome back to Wrongmar. In today's maths lesson we're taking a first look at fractions. Our goal for today is to find halves, thirds and quarters of different shapes. Now fractions can be tricky. In fact, some people don't really understand what fractions are at all. Let me take you back to when I was a child to tell you a story about the first time I realised fractions are quite important. So when my parents would go out, they'd leave me with my older sister and she would mind me. They would always leave us a bit of money to buy our favourite takeaway as a treat. Now of course my sister being older, she usually got to decide what it was, and she liked pizza the most. I didn't mind that though, because I like pizza too. But here's what happened. The pizza arrived and my sister got out the knife. She said, "Half for you, half for me." Now, I was young and I didn't really understand fractions. All I knew was half meant you were supposed to split it in two. So my sister took the knife and, agreeing that yes, it would be split into two pieces, she cut the pizza like this. You can imagine my confused little face when I saw how much bigger her half was than mine. So I turned around to my sister and said, "Well, that doesn't seem fair. That's not half." And she said, "Well, it is though. You said half when it's cut into two pieces. 1, 2. Enjoy." From that moment on, I swore that I would learn how fractions worked so I would never get tricked by my sister again. So what is a half? Give a better description of what a half is than I did to my sister. Pause the video and write down what a half is. Well, a half is a fraction. What is a fraction? What does that mean? Well, a fraction means that it is part of a whole number, a set, or a shape. I was kind of right when I said that to my sister, that it was part of the whole pizza I wanted. But I forgot one very important piece of information. When we break something into fractions, all the pieces have to be equal in size or value. So, like this chocolate bar here is not in half because the two pieces that I've divided it into are not equal. Neither was that pizza that my sister divided for us because the two parts that she broke it into were not equal in size. Even if it means that you're going to get less chocolate when you're sharing it with your little sister or brother, when we divide a shape or a number into a fraction, all of the pieces must be equal in size or value. Take a look at the shapes down below. Some of them have been divided into halves, equal two parts. Some of them have not been divided into two equal parts. Can you pause the video and figure out which shapes have been divided into halves? Pause the video and give it a try. Well, all of these shapes have been divided into two equal parts. You can see that both pieces are exactly the same in size. However, this one here is not divided into halves. Why? What's wrong with it? Pause the video and look closer. See if you can figure out why this is not divided into halves. Well, of course, the two pieces are not equal in size. They're not the same size. So it's not halves. It's just been broken into two. How would you divide these shapes into halves? Pause the video and draw these shapes on your piece of paper, then divide them into halves. Give that a try now. Well, as long as you made two equal pieces, you've made halves. So you might have divided them like I did here, or you might have divided them a different way. As long as the two pieces you made are equal, well then, they are halves. Take a look at this circle. What fraction is this shape divided into? And how would you write that as a fraction? Pause the video and write down your answer. Well, this shape is divided into quarters. We write 1/4 like this. 1/4. If halves give us 2 equal pieces and quarters give us 4 equal pieces, how many pieces do you think thirds would give us? Pause the video and write down an answer. Well, of course, thirds would give us 3 equal pieces. So 1/2, 1/3, 1/4. Take a close look at the way we write down these different fractions. 1/2, 1/3, 1/4. Can you see a pattern? Can you see why we write them like that? Pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Well, fractions are about to make a lot more sense. The top number tells you how many pieces you have taken or shaded. The bottom number tells you how many pieces the shape or set was divided into. So you can see on this picture here, the bottom number 2 tells us that the circle was divided into 2 equal pieces. And the top number, well, that tells us how many of those pieces we have taken or shaded. 1/2, or 1/2. Okay, now that you're a bit more familiar with fractions, halves, quarters, and thirds, I'm going to show you a shape and ask you to shade a fraction of it. Remember everything you learned about fractions to get these correct. You ready? Okay, let's get started. Here's our first shape. Can you shade 1/3 of this shape? Draw it on your paper and shade in 1/3. Pause the video and give it a try. Well, any of these 3 ways is correct. As long as you remember to shade 1 equal part out of 3, well then it's a third. Doesn't matter which one you shaded. Next one. Can you shade 1/4 of this shape? Pause the video and draw your answer. Well, any of these ways is correct as long as you remembered to shade 1 equal part out of 4. Then it is 1/4. It doesn't matter which one you shaded, because they're all equal, remember? Okay, next one. How about this one? Can you shade in 1/2 of this shape? Pause the video and draw your answer. Well, that one was a little bit trickier, but you should have been able for it. Any of these ways is correct. Remember that 1/2 means 1 out of every 2 parts should be shaded. You might notice that 1/2 is the same or equal to 2 quarters. Okay, here we go. Last one. Take a look at this shape here. Can you shade 1/2 of this shape for me? But here's the tricky thing. I want you to do it 2 different ways. So draw this shape 2 times and shade in 1/2 2 different ways. Pause the video and give it a try. Well, there are lots of ways to shade this one. As long as you have 8 squares shaded, you are correct. Count up your squares. If you've got 8 of them in any pattern at all, it is absolutely 1/2. Good job. Okay, let me leave you with this one last question to try and solve. So, we learned today that when you divide a shape into equal parts, you make a fraction. But take a look at this shape here. My very irritating sister says that this shape doesn't show a half because it's divided into 3 parts and not 2. Do you agree with her? Or do you disagree? Whatever you choose, explain to me why you chose that answer. Why is she correct? Or why is she incorrect? Pause the video and write down what you think. So our walls for today's lesson was to find halves, thirds and quarters of different shapes. You're ready to practice this in the activities down below. That's all we have time for today. Until next time, take care.